On today's Family Vacationer, we talk with special guest Jay Menashe about the importance of taking the time off and traveling with your family. Episode 127 starts right now.
Welcome to the Family Vacationer with Rob and Danny. The go-to podcast for families on the move.
Welcome, friends. I'm Rob.
And I'm Danny.
And this is episode 127 of the Family Vacationer. We're glad you're with us for another episode. Last week, in case you missed it, we had another visit from Dr. Emily King, and we all feel that post-vacation letdown. And Dr. Emily suggested some ways to kind of plan against those feelings that affect the whole family, but can be especially rough on neurodivergent children. You'll definitely want to go back and check that show out. Today, we have special guest Jay Menashe on the show. Now, I happened across one of his posts on LinkedIn, and it dealt with how important it can be to take that time away from work and travel with your family on vacation. In today's work climate of potential recession, layoffs, all the other craziness going on, scheduling a vacation can sometimes be a difficult decision. So what is the value of taking those family trips? Is it worth it? We're going to look at those questions today. Danny, how are you feeling?
Hey, Rob, I'm doing fantastic. And honestly, I'm really excited about today's episode. It really gets to the heart of what you and I believe, because, everybody knows that the family vacation time it's not just about relaxation and exploration, but and I think what is the most important part, it's about building the strong bonds and creating lifelong memories. Yeah. That's where it's at. So, and for that, the presence of both parents is really vital. And in today's fast-paced world, where work demands often seem unrelenting, really, it's crucial to emphasize the significance of taking the well-deserved break with your loved ones. So, with that being said, joining us today, we're talking about this topic with Jay Menashe. Now, Jay is the Senior Vice President for a company called EDE. They create personalized experiences for exhibits, branded environments, and museums. Jay, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We are glad to have you. So talk to us. What inspired you to prioritize taking time to travel with your family on vacation?
Well, I'm a big believer on working to live. So taking vacations, I've never been one to lose PTO days ever, maybe not so early in my career, but I would even say after the first 5 years, it was such a priority because even in those first few years, you work so many hours, especially in a sales role where it's like, you just need the break. I need the mental refresh. I need that little time off away from work. So even early on, it made taking that time a priority.
So do you feel any added pressure these days with, we're in a recession, we're going to be in a recession, there's layoffs. Does that add any pressure when you're taking that PTO, or do you just like, I need this time, I'm taking this time?
No, I wouldn't say the impending recession would really have any kind of impact on me taking time off. It's more, we have a smaller team. So me taking time off, like, all right, who's going to fill in now? What work am I throwing on somebody else's plate? Right. We are very fortunate that after the pandemic, I'm in the trade show and event business. So we had nothing to do for a couple of years, and it has been gangbusters since we got back. So it's more just workload that I'm throwing to other people. But honestly, it's a few days. It's not like I'm taking a month off, or honestly, even if I was, we'd figure it out. I'm not saving lives in my job. So
yeah. Awesome. So how do you balance the busy work schedule with the needs of your family for quality time together?
I have said it from the beginning. It was funny in the very first conversation with my boss. I'm like, listen, I work to live. I will work very hard throughout the day, whatever hours I got to work. But once my family's here, I am with them. My kids are 6 and 9 years old. So it's, really important at this age just to be around and be helping them. I'm very proud. I show them how hard I work. They see the rewards of it. But at the same time, it's like, I'm helping shape their lives now. And I want to make sure that I'm there to be as much a part of it as I can be.
Love it. For sure. Yeah, now we've talked on the show a lot about the positive ways that we feel like travel impacts our kids. But in your life, what ways do you feel travel's positively impacted your relationship with your spouse, with your kids?
The relationship, I'm not sure. We'll have to see in due time how it really affects. I would say it's just showing them different perspectives and different cultures. We've been fortunate enough. We were just in the Dominican Republic a few months ago, which is, I think, what triggered this conversation.
Mhm.
And it's just showing them what hard work brings and understanding that it's like, listen, not everybody gets to do these trips, and to know that the hard work that we put in during the day, it's like, hey, when I tell you I have a meeting, there's a reason that I have this meeting. And it's, I try not to ever have them after work hours, and it's pretty rare that I do. But I'd say they understand what hard work is about. It was actually interesting. Yesterday, I was at my son does gym for, which is like basically junior gymnastics. And, instead of bouncing off the couch, he's bouncing on trampolines. And the coach is like, he just works so hard. He's so focused. And we always heard the same thing about our daughter. And I'd like to think it's because they actually see the fruits of my wife and I, our labor.
Yeah, man, that's so cool. You have your priorities straight. I love it. But I want to ask you on the flip side, talking about your job, that side of looking the other way. How has taking family vacations impacted your job productivity and even your job satisfaction?
The satisfaction goes through the roof when I take breaks. I'm usually a little late on when I take that break, because I'm at the tail end of like, oh my God, I need to just step away from this right now. But it always, when I come back, I'm usually, I'm fresh with ideas and creative ideas about all different, I'm involved at EB, where, like I said, we're a small company. So I run sales and marketing. So usually the time away just gives me a whole new fresh set of ideas. And I come back with, and I'm like, all right, guys, I'm ready. I took a few days off. My energy is at 150. And they're like, please just take a breath. We are not all at your level.
That's kind of like me as a teacher. You take a few months off and then you kind of go, all right, man, I'm ready for some new ideas. Jump back in. Creativity is there. Totally get it.
Yeah. Oh, as a teacher, if you guys didn't get that time off, I don't know how you do it. That is, I would say, one of the hardest jobs in the world.
Yeah, it's a challenge sometimes. Most of the time, we love them to death.
It's just like being a parent. I love them all the time. I don't always like them.
That's right.
They keep shrinking the vacation time for teachers, though. Not a good thing. All right. So at what age did you start traveling with your kids? Just right away, or did you wait a couple of years?
Most people think we're insane right away. My son was 4 months old when we went to Hawaii with him, and my daughter was 3 at the time. So like literally, it's like, oh, you're safe to go in public with other people. Let's go. So that trip was planned before he was born. My daughter was probably also like 6 months old before we took her to Aruba. As you can tell by Dominican, Aruba, and Hawaii, we like the beach.
Yeah,
nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah.
But have you noticed any long-term benefits to traveling together as a family?
They're actually, I had to think about that one for a second, but they're actually much better behaved when we're traveling, when we're in airports, when we're around other people. They're a lot more cautious than when we're home and they're just, crazy people like most children are.
Can we trade kids for a while? I'm just kidding.
No, I've trained mine to this point. I can't take on.
That's right. You're in it too far at this point.
I would do that to you. I love mine, but anyway.
So we all know that actually scheduling the family travel can really be challenging. So what are some challenges that you've personally experienced when scheduling that time with your family?
I think it's pulling the trigger is the hardest part, because you want to plan it far enough out, but you can't plan it too far out. I'm also very fortunate that my wife, for her job, she's an event planner. We're an event producer. So I don't do a lot of the planning on, but actually on the Dominican trip, I did the planning on that one. She found it, we had a travel agent and everything for that one to make it a little bit easier. But when it came down to just making a decision, I'm like, all right, let me just talk to her. We'll figure this out really quick. And we pulled the trigger. And it's like, we just have to figure out the dates. And now that our kids are, in real school age, when they were in pre-K stuff, we didn't really count that. But, we can't have them also out of school. So it makes the dates a little bit easier, because it's like, well, it's spring break, so it's time to go on vacation, or summer break, we're going on vacation.
So now, are you rut travelers? Do you go to the same places? I know you like the beach, but do you go to the same places, or do y'all try to go someplace different every time?
The only place we've been more than once is Disney World, and I'm pretty much all set on going there for quite some time. But no, most of the time we're going to other places. For work, I travel in the same cities over and over again.
Right.
Thankfully, with the kids and the family, we're going different places pretty much all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not going to Vegas with the kids anytime soon?
Not yet, but they did for a while try to make Vegas a family destination.
Yes,
that
worked
talked about
really
that.
well. We talked about that quite a bit. Yeah. Well, have you mentioned that they behave better. So have you noticed any other behavior changes when they travel? Any changes in attitude as you travel together as a family?
Not really. I mean, they're just really, honestly, the better listening is the best part of everything. You know, they stay close to us until they're comfortable in a place. You know, the Dominican resort we were at, they were pretty much had free reign to run all over the place, which when we came back home, it's like, hey, you can't just go anywhere all the time now. We have actually, because of that experience, we've loosened up a little bit at home. Like, we'll let them go to the park on their own, you know, it's around the corner from our house. But that was not something we were doing pre-vacation.
Yeah.
All right, Jay, you're talking to two dads here, so I got a good one for you. What advice would you give fathers that may be hesitant to take that time off work and take the family vacation?
Just do everything wait. You know, we live this life one time, and
Right.
you know, I was always very much like, hey, I'm working to retire, and I've always long said my wife is the reason we have fun now. I'm the reason we're gonna have fun when we retire. And the reality is, you don't know, like, what is life really going to be like? What, we retire 60, 65, 70. So it's like, all right, I'm young. I can move now. You know, I'm just barely in my 40s. When I'm 65, 70, it's like, what am I really going to want to do? And yes, I still hopefully will want to travel then, but you only get to do this once. So what
Right.
do you save me for? And you also, you know, you never know. I mean, look what we just went through with the pandemic and how it completely shut down so much of life. What are you waiting for?
Right.
Yeah.
I love
Well,
that
and
philosophy.
along that line, getting introspective for a moment, what changes in your personal growth and development have you noticed spending this time on the road with your family?
Patience. I was not always the most patient person. I'm still not the most patient person,
Oh,
but
you
you have
too,
no
huh?
choice, you know.
Right.
Yeah. Well, you know, growing up, I had a pretty decent temper of my own. So I really had focus, and that was passed down from my dad, from my uncle, from my grandfather. It's you know, the Menashe lineage is just, we got temper. And people are just like, oh, they just have that. And I really want to show my kids that it's like, hey, there are other ways to show your emotions. And yes, you are allowed to get upset. You are allowed to lose your temper. But the reality is it never fixes anything. So showing them
Yeah.
to be patient and listen and hopefully find a little bit more constructive and healthy ways to show you're upset about something is definitely something I am focused on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it sounds like I'm talking to myself here because, you know, my temper is still rough at times, but it was horrible. And then, of course, 4 years in the Marine Corps did nothing but make it worse because then I just wanted to fight somebody afterwards. So, I mean,
And you
anyway,
have the skills to do it now.
yes, but you know, it's so beneficial to learn to just calm down.
Yeah.
And it's, oh my gosh, there's so much less stress in your life, I've noticed. And the stress, the temper, anger it's a heavy burden to bear. And
Absolutely.
it
Well,
really
I
is.
laugh also because my dad will be like, oh, you know, you need to discipline the kids on one hand more. And I'm like, Dad, do you mean, like, by your discipline, do you mean like I should yell at them and that's how I show them that they solve problems? Like, you know, I have a temper, and I of course blame my parents. It's all their fault. And then, you know, literally like 2 weeks ago, my son was losing his temper. He was in the back seat. We were going to pick something up, and the store ended up being closing, which did not help his temper at all.
Of course.
And I just remained patient and kept a calm voice, no matter how upset I was getting at the situation. And my dad has become a big mush from the big scary dad he was when I was growing up. And he's like, wow, I'm just so proud of your patience. And he starts to tear up, and I'm like,
Oh,
who are you?
yeah. Maybe he learned something from you instead of the other way around.
I'm hoping because they're the older generation is all about their different form of discipline. And it's like, listen, sometimes that happens.
Right.
And you have to raise your voice, whether it's something that scared you or it's like a really serious situation. But I would say like 99% of the time, it helps nothing, and it makes every situation worse. And then just teaching that behavior, like, oh no, this is what solves problems. Just scream at people, and then they calm down.
We've had a child psychologist on several times. In fact, we had Dr. Emily on last week.
Yeah.
And I learned something every time that we talked to her. One of the things was that, you know, I have a kid with ADHD. And so, you know, I'm trying to discipline him. And along the way, I learned that it's not his behavior that needs to be modified. It's mine. And I need to try to understand where he's coming from a lot more. So, yeah, I mean, you know, we're all learning, we're all growing. There's not a book that I've read that tells you exactly how you need to parent, because every kid's different. You know, there's no, we're just all trying the best we can, right?
Yes.
Do you guys watch Ted Lasso by chance?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Love it.
Well, so there are a million good quotes that come out of Ted Lasso, but one that, really resonated with me, and I remind myself, it's like, just be curious, not judgmental. And it's like, no matter what they do, if you can start with a question. Now, don't get me wrong, this does not always work. But, you have to it's like, where are they trying to understand where people are coming from, even if they're your kids and they're just supposed to listen. It makes a huge difference. And I think it'll disarm them a lot of the time when it's like, my go-to reaction is like, what are you doing? It's like, hey man, like, what happened there? And just like trying to start a little softer. And then sometimes you have to ask, like I said.
No, that makes a ton of difference for sure.
It really does. All right, so you're on the vacation. How do you ensure that your family vacation time is meaningful and enjoyable for everybody there?
Oh, that's impossible.
Yeah.
So I would say a lot of lessons learned on this most recent vacation. So we have been to Disney a couple times. This one was actually the Nickelodeon resort in Dominican Republic, which was amazing. It was super fun. So I think the key is to make it as kid friendly as possible, but also don't forget yourselves, because as much as Disney is 100% kid, my wife is a Disney adult, so it's 100% for her too. But this vacation, it's like, all right, like we want to find our next vacation. We want to go to a resort that is very kid friendly. They have a kids club, they have all the activities, but we also want to be a little bit more adult friendly as well. So I think that was probably the biggest takeaway we took from that last vacation.
Awesome. Well, so what are some of your favorite places that you've gone as a family?
Hawaii is still very top of the list. We are planning to go back there. Don't know when, whether it's next year or the year after, but that place. That was expected that, as parents say, it was a trip. It was not a vacation, and it ended up being so relaxing and such a paradise that I would say that is definitely towards the very top of my list.
Which island did you guys go to?
We were in Maui.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So the first couple of days we were driving around and enjoying the views and checking things out. We were whale watching, and then after that we pretty much just didn't leave our hotel other than for a few meals.
Sounds amazing.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, where do you have a bucket list of places that you want to go?
I have so many. I would love to pretty much all of Asia. I want to go to the Philippines. I want to go to Vietnam. I would love to check out Japan. I also want to, go to Australia and New Zealand. So, checking all the farthest places possible off the list.
Right. Yeah.
Honestly, there's so many places, even in the US. Like I went to, this was more of a solo trip with one of my friends to Colorado last summer, and just going hiking at the national parks. Like it is such a perspective change of like, wow, I grew up right outside New York City. I live in the suburbs in New Jersey now. And it's like, everything's on top of each other. I can get anything I need within 7 to 10 minutes here. Well, when I was out there, it's like, well, now I know why people need to get these giant, like deep freezers and storage for food, because if there's a heavy snowstorm, you're stuck for months.
Yeah.
And it was just going to the national park and driving around the state. It was just like breathtaking, but it's like, wow, like this is what life could be like. I've never pictured anything like that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Jay, thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, hey, my pleasure. Thanks for having me, guys.
Hey everyone, if you're ready to plan your next family vacation, call my dad. He would love to help you as a certified travel agent. He never charges a fee to help you plan your vacation. Email him at rjones@starsteptravel.com. Get started planning your vacation today.
All right, that does it for this week's show. Join us next week as we talk to Wes Ramey about Dollywood and the recent expansion of what we feel is one of the most underrated theme parks in the country. Till next time.
Thank you for listening to The Family Vacationer. Make sure and subscribe to hear more of Rob and Danny.